Thank you and welcome back to Race Industry Week 2023. Mr. Mike Kirshner is back with us. We're going to bring Brad Sweet on, and we've got three more exciting sessions before the end of Race Industry Week 2023. Brad is with us.
This is a perfect example. We go from F1 to grassroots racing and hearing what Brad Sweet's going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my video up here. Sorry about this, guys.
Oh,
start my video. I'm getting it.
Okay. We can hear you.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll roll into it. Big day already for Brad today in high limit racing. Brad, for those of you who don't know, is a five-time World of Outlaws champion, and he's the co-owner and promoter of the High Limit Racing Series along with Kyle Larson. And a couple hours ago, High Limit dropped a 60 race schedule for next season that begins in February and ends in October. Brad, how you feeling now that that schedule's out in the public and everybody can see it?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, it's a lot of work. These things start years in advance. So it's pretty gratifying when you finally, get to put something out to the public. You're working really hard behind the scenes, and the public opinion on what we're doing, there's a lot of different opinions. So it's just nice to kind of showcase what we're actually doing, and 60 races is no easy task. And I think the more important thing is that it's a national series. And the other important thing is, the amount of big races that are on our schedule. So just really looking forward to, in the next few weeks, kind of announcing our driver lineup. I think there's a lot of surprises still coming for the fans, and just the other things, the other business side of our business, the point fund, the tow package that we're doing for the teams, and everything that Flow Racing's doing for us, and that High Limits is trying to accomplish in the future. So just really exciting times for us.
What kind of reaction and feedback have you had over the last couple of hours?
It just depends on who you ask. So anytime that you're kind of putting yourself out there in these positions, there's always going to be, some of the people are upset, and some people, love what we're doing. And, I think the minority of people that are upset are always get the loudest. But I think when it comes down to it, once we showcase our driver roster and what we're doing, in the future, and what we're trying to do to grow sprint car racing and grassroots racing, I think, actions will speak louder than words. And honestly, this is just the beginning. It's ground level for us. So for the most part, it's been very positive, especially from the race teams and drivers. And, a lot of the racetracks are supporting us. And I would say the majority of the fans are excited to see more action-packed sprint car racing for sure.
One more question about the schedule before we move on. You mentioned big races. One of them is the Gold Cup at Silver Dollar Speedway, and that moved up a couple weeks on the schedule from its traditional date. What led to that happening?
Yeah, I mean, when we acquired kind of the All-Stars, and we're trying to build the best possible schedule for High Limits. Obviously, we looked at all the assets that were across both portfolios, and the Tuscarora 50 is a massive event, and Port Royal Speedway in Pennsylvania, and then obviously the Gold Cup's a massive event for us in California. So to try to make both things work and stay on the schedule, I think their date's a little bit more firm because it's around a fair and things at Port Royal. So we're trying it this year to move the Gold Cup forward a few weeks, and it still worked well with the logistics of the travel schedule. To kind of start in Central California, and then go to Northern California with the Gold Cup, and then up into Oregon, Washington, and then there is a long trek back east. But I think when we're going from big event to big event, and still having another big event in Pennsylvania, I think it makes those drives a little easier.
It was the first season for High Limit this year. You had 11 midweek races. This year, you're going to run not only a midweek mini series of another 11 races, but the full schedule's 60, including weekends. What does it take in a change in resources in order to expand that much?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 12 race idea was a good idea to try to fill a void, and we had a lot of success. And obviously streaming is a big part of this growth of this sport. And obviously with Flow as our kind of partner, and Flow Racing, and they didn't want to just settle. I think the 12 races was a nice sample for them, but I think they saw what they wanted to see, and they saw our growth potential and how much passion we had to try to grow sprint car racing. So I think with our interests aligned so well, I think and Flow's commitment to us, we were able to create a partnership that was beneficial for both parties. And we were able to kind of acquire the All Stars, which had a footprint on probably 3/4 of the country, and then take that footprint and grow it into something bigger, with a West Coast swing and being a national series. So yeah, just a lot of different things came together to kind of make it all happen.
What did you learn last year that's going to benefit high limit racing this season?
I think we learned a lot about the business side of things and working with promoters, and just trying to put on really efficient shows. I think some of the old traditions are maybe holding sprint car racing back a little bit from going to the next level. So we started to see that last year with some of the things that we did. Were really positively taken, or received, I guess, by the fans. And we saw our viewership rising and rising, and kind of understanding some of the things we did just on the efficiency side. So there's a lot of room for innovation, I think, in sprint car racing. There's a lot of growth potential if we can keep getting more and more subscribers on these streaming services to be more engaged and tune in more often. I think our product's really good. It's just how we showcase it. So I think those are the things that we learned, and obviously want to improve upon as we move forward.
You've talked a lot over the last year or so about your vision for sprint car racing. Define that vision. Exactly what is that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have every answer, when you have these long-term goals, and you're passionate about something. But I think what you do know is that you want to make it bigger, and you want to grow it every year. Growth means a lot of different things. I mean, growth, for one, we want to make the business of sprint car racing a more sustainable product for owners. I think for years and years it's been kind of a hobby for owners that can maybe afford it, but we are getting to the point where this could potentially be a successful business for car owners, and to get involved in. We want the fans to be able to have big events to attend, and with great atmospheres more often. We want to build our stars into bigger. We want to tell their stories a little bit more about who they actually are, instead of just a car on the racetrack. So the fans can maybe be more involved or more engaged to the content that we're creating, and maybe get behind those drivers. So yeah, I mean, safety is a big thing for high limit, to try to really put an emphasis on the safety side of it, not only just with the cars, but at the racetracks, trying to improve facilities. And I just think there's a lot of room for growth in a lot of different areas. So I think just got to dig in, dive into it, and kind of see where it leads us. But I think the team that we're building with high limit, and the youth, and the kind of how young and ambitious we all are, I think the sky's the limit for what we could accomplish.
How exactly are you addressing safety?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, in year one, we are aligned with MedStar, which is a group out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That no series has really ever had a traveling safety team come with us. Obviously, it's a big expense. So we're going to try to have the first ever traveling MedStar safety team come to every single high limiter race. We're working to put together a safety type fund, that is maybe looked at as like a co-op, instead of always trying to put money into all these benevolent funds and things that are reactionary. Let's try to be progressive, and try to improve facilities, so we don't necessarily have to rely on so many times dipping into these benevolent funds and these injury funds and things like that. So obviously those are important for drivers, but safety. I think, we're at ground level for that. And, the way we look at it is, we got to work with, people that specialize in improving facilities and uh, extraction and fire safety and, understanding when accidents happen. So, recreation of crashes, to as far as even logistics, if there is a catastrophic crash at a facility, where's the nearest burn unit, where's the nearest trauma unit, and have those types of plans in place ahead of time. So, yeah, it's definitely important for us to address all those different things and kind of put all those pieces together and hopefully have really good plans in place and have good people that are working hard to try to be innovative and when something does go wrong, try to learn upon it and try to improve upon it.
I know you're still trying to finalize the driver lineup and all of that sort of thing. What would be the ideal number of full-time teams out on the tour?
Yeah, I mean, I set the resources kind of at 14, which means we pay the point fund down to 14th, and we pay tow money down to 14th, and I think 12 to 14 is a good number. Kind of half the field, half an A main field. As you're traveling into, certain markets, you have less and less regional or local cars to kind of fill the void. So you don't want to travel with much less than that, I think, and I think we're well on our way to that number. I think there's some surprises in there, and we've gotten a lot of feedback. So I'm excited to kind of once we get to announce that to the public. I think that our lineup is as strong as anything out there.
What have you learned through the years, quite a few years on the sprint car tour and then some time running USAC and even some NASCAR races sprinkled in through of all of those different racing experiences that you can apply to promoting high limit?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, right? I mean, for me, I've lived in this world my whole life and obviously had an immense passion for it. And, my passion was to drive a race car starting with, and obviously accomplished a lot there and winning, 5 straight championships. And, as I've gone through that progression, I've kind of studied, and learned more about the business side of what goes on in sprint car racing. And I've realized that there's, a lot of old traditional type stuff that I think we can improve upon. I think when I took over the racetrack at Silver Dollar with Kyle and Colby, and we realized, kind of that side of the business, and then obviously the series side, and then team owner and racing side. So I think I have an idea of what every side goes through. Owning the racetrack is by far the hardest thing to run a racetrack night in and night out. Owning a series is definitely very hard, and then obviously from the owner and driver side, I've understood. So I think just all the different experiences, I can understand, things that can go wrong and throughout a season, and what burns people out, what's hard on a promoter, and then obviously what the series is going to go through with its challenges. So I think it's a little bit of everything. I definitely don't think we're going to be perfect right out of the gate. I think we're going to have growing pains like anybody else. I'm 37. I think I have a lot of room to learn and grow. And I'm just excited to get in and build the team and and kind of see where it all leads us.
Kind of an interesting dynamic in sprint car racing right now among the fans. There's a lot of new fans. You kind of alluded to the things that newer fans expect, but there's also a lot of fans who've been going to sprint car races for 50 years or more, and they kind of want something different in their experience. How do you find a balance of the two at your events?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that that's some of the learning curves that we alluded to, is that we want to be innovative, but we don't want to try to run any fans that are traditional fans off. So I think we have some good ideas. I don't really want to share with them until they're kind of finalized about how a high limit show can look. But I think anytime when you change something, the initial knee jerk reaction is always going to be, 50% are going to be happy, 50% are going to be mad. So I think it's just kind of going through the progressions and seeing what really works. And then, I think fans sometimes are, don't want change, but I think if they see it and they experience it, it might not be as bad as what they feel. So I think as long as we keep sprint car racing truly grassroots and don't let engineering or things get too out of control, and as long as we keep driver access and fan engagement a priority, I think our product's great. It's a lot of it just comes down to how we showcase it and how we grow the audience, and there's no denying that we have to keep the streaming involved in that conversation, because that's our biggest room for growth is having all the extra eyes watching these events night in and night out.
Clearly, you and Kyle have a ton of experience racing and quite a bit promoting, but you guys can't do all this on your own. Who are some of the key people behind the scenes that are going to keep High Limit trucking down the road from track to track?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we made some really great hires. Flow Racing, they do all the production, and they handle all the people that are producing and running these shows. And then Mike Hess was a great hire. He had been with the Outlaws previously as a race director, and really aligns with my vision for sprint car racing and safety and just the efficiency of the show. So he's kind of in charge of hiring all the stuff on the competition side. I try to stay as much out of that as I can, and he's made some great hires. We're excited to announce the team once it's all the way done. And then we've been able to hire Kendra Jacobs, who's been a great ambassador to the sport. She did a lot of great things for Knoxville and the Knoxville Nationals, and she's going to help on the marketing and event coordination side, and she's hiring some people to kind of support her. So it's a great group, a lot of young, ambitious, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and also me and Kyle, are a really big part of it. People probably don't realize how involved we really are into the day-to-day, to scheduling the races, to setting this all in motion. So it's been a lot of work, but it's definitely gratifying.
How many people do you think you talked to in the process of setting your schedule?
I was probably doing 30 or 40 phone calls a day for probably the last few weeks, and some days were less than others. But if I'm not talking the schedule or High Limits, I was working on the Silver Dollar schedule, and I mean even as far as booking the AMA flat track motorcycles at Silver Dollar. So I mean, we definitely are involved in a lot of different things, and so it definitely takes hundreds and hundreds of phone calls, and things that you think are going to happen don't happen, and then you got to always be able to pivot and create a solution. And it's a big challenge to create a big schedule like that.
Obviously, you'll be racing in the High Limit Racing Series too. How do you separate the two things, racing and promoting? When does one hat come off and the helmet goes on?
Yeah, honestly, that's why I think it's so important to have a great team. And for integrity purposes, I mean, I'll be really, really outside of the competition side of the business, which I have 100% faith that Mike and the team are going to be able to go in and put great events on night in and night out, and make great calls, and do all the tech processes, and keep the racing 100% legit. And from my standpoint, what I bring to the table is a vision for the business, and building the team, and using relationships, and just kind of my knowledge of different racetracks and different regions, and just have ideas, and have a passion for it also. I'll be focused on the business side, the event side with Kendra probably more than anything. And then, if there's anything that comes up with Mike, I mean, it's more of just, how can we be more efficient, or how can we get the show to look a little bit better, or more consistently professional? Those are all important things for High Limit.
From a racing aspect, you had your hand in putting the schedule together. Are there any events or tracks on that schedule that you're really looking forward to racing at? Maybe places you've only been to a couple of times, or maybe never been to?
I think the biggest thing for me is just kind of having a different schedule, with a little bit of freedom. When you run 10 straight years, doing kind of the same thing, very similar schedule, 90 nights, kind of every weekend, it's really refreshing to look at a 60 race schedule with some off weekends, or, with some room to choose what you want to do, so to speak. So, very excited that we were able to make the Gold Cup Race of Champions 100,000 to win. That's something that means a lot to Kyle and I, and Colby. We really wanted to improve 410 sprint car racing on the West Coast, and I think with this High Limit move, I think we've added a ton of big shows on the West Coast. Skagit's 100,000 to win. So extra excited about the West Coast swing, but excited, for a lot of the events on the high limit schedule. I mean, Kevin Rudine does a lot with us. We're gonna have his Rudine race at I-70. We're gonna have the Tuscarora 50 and the Whitecurt at Port Royal. We're gonna do a couple of things with Lucas Oil late models, with Golden Isles and with Atomic. I don't know, just so many great things. Texas Motor Speedway, 50,000 to win at Lakeside. I mean, it's pretty crazy to me to think in the first year of a startup kind of, national series that we were able to put so many great races on our schedule, and just really looking forward to it.
You mentioned it, and I was going to ask you about it eventually. How is your partnership with the Lucas Late Model Series going to work?
Yeah, it's just more of a strategic friendship more than anything, or just we're going to communicate, and work on our scheduling together and try to support each other. The other group has sprint cars and late models, and sometimes they leverage one event for another event. So we think it was important to kind of work together to make sure that we're working together to get the best events for both of our groups.
What ultimately would you like to see happen, or I guess the perfect scenario for this coming season? What would that be when it's all said and done come October?
Well, I think just execute night in and night out. Show the people what we're trying to accomplish, and I think we had a small sample version last year, but I just want to have a successful year. I want people to talk positively about what they see with high limits. I want them to get used to seeing, some of the best racing they've seen, in some of the most professional shows. And I want the fans that come to the racetrack talk about, how efficient, how great the atmosphere was, how accessible the drivers were, how much emphasis we're putting on fan engagement and alternate entertainment. So I think just it's a lot of different things. I think, I always look at each night as, is it brand positive or brand negative? So throughout a year, I want to say that the majority of our races, we're brand positive, and I think that would be important that we gain on it throughout the season, and that there's not a lot of negativity that comes back our way.
In addition to the excellent purse money, what does High Limit offer car owners that helps their operations keep going up and down the road and running a 60 race schedule?
Yeah, we have some exciting things that we're definitely being innovative on that front. That we'll be able to talk about more as far as what we're going to implement in the next few years. But just right out of the gate, we do have tow money. It's in the $400,000 range spread between those 14 teams, and they're paid in monthly installments based off where they're running in points. So if you're higher up, you get a little bit more. If you're down at the bottom, you get a little bit less. And then we have a $1 million point fund, which is no easy task to kind of put that together, but it's going to pay $250,000 to win, and obviously it kind of goes down from there. I think it's $125,000 for second, $100,000 for third. So it's only 60 races, so we think the money for that amount of races is really good for these teams. And obviously we know behind the scenes with the feedback we've gotten and the teams that are signing up that obviously it was well received.
You got just a little over 2 months before the first race at East Bay Raceway Park in February, and you've been working on this schedule, and you have a lot of things to come together in those 2 months. Is that more stressful, or is racing for $1 million to win at Eldora more stressful?
This is definitely more stressful. The $1 million to win race was obviously you're just excited for the opportunity to try to do that. But once you're in the car, I mean, you're going to give it your all, whether you're racing for 10,000 or 1 million. So I wouldn't say I wasn't stressed. I was just probably more excited than anything. That we actually had the opportunity to compete for $1 million. But yeah, I mean, I think putting this all together and kind of doing what we're trying to do for the sport is definitely not easy. And it's no easy task, and we're not taking it lightly. But yeah, there's certainly days that are stressful for sure.
Thank you for joining us today, Brad. I enjoyed our conversation. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to EPARTRADE.